Okay, so welcome to this week's Conversations with Marléne and Pascale. This week we are talking about embracing change, which is a very topical subject for me at the moment. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Pascale Lane. I'm a therapeutic relationship and confidence coach, working with women to help them improve their relationships, improve their confidence, and create the life they truly deserve. And over to my good friend Marléne.
Hello there, I'm Marléne Rose Shaw. I'm a therapist and a coach and self-help author, and I help people have great confidence and great relationships through learning how to overcome people-pleasing, set boundaries, learn to communicate well, and all that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Tis all good stuff. It's great stuff. It's all life changing.
Everything we talk about is just such good stuff. And of course, embracing change, which, like I said in the intro, is very topical for me at the moment. But I think, change doesn't have to be, change doesn't have to be moving country like I'm doing at the moment. Embracing change actually is just about changing habits, and actually those small changes can make a huge difference, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Change is something that is all part of life, actually, isn't it? We can have small changes and we can have huge changes, Pascale, like moving from the UK to Spain, your first week there.
Yeah. I'm embracing it.
All that goes with it, all the teething problems and all of it. Yeah. And that's the thing about change, isn't it? I think we think of change and it's often something we want to do, like make a big move as you've done, or change a habit. And we're very excited about it and it's a wonderful thing. Sometimes we forget that in order to make change in our life, we kind of have to shake things up a little bit. It doesn't always mean that we're just going to wake up one morning and everything will be different. We have to embrace the fact that in order to have something new, it means letting go of other things.
Yeah. Yes, and that's across the board. That's across the board. That's small habits, that's big habits, and sometimes that's people. Sometimes people are either our habits or our anchors. And a lot of the work that I do, I wouldn't say a huge part of the work that I do, but I would say probably about 25% of the work that I do is about ending relationships. Women coming to me and just saying, like, I don't know whether this is right, and to finish, or whether I should keep going. And there's always so many reasons why we collectively feel that we need to keep going. And so it's also about trusting your instinct, trusting what you feel is right for you, and sometimes stepping into the unknown. Like changes, like we stay stuck because it's comfortable. Even if it's uncomfortable, we're comfortable in the discomfort, and that's why we stay there ultimately.
Yeah, I often say, are you really comfortable in your comfort zone? And there's something about finding courage to make change, whether that is ending a relationship or moving to a new country or, changing your lifestyle or whatever it is. There is courage to be had, isn't there, to make those changes. In my experience, it's often with clients and in my own life as well, my friends and family, it's often when things become less comfortable, when the other option, the option to change, becomes the better option, that we find we can make that change. we put up with things for a while because it seems easier until it's like the scale tips. And the risk of being brave and doing that other thing actually becomes the better option, because staying where we are becomes the lesser option.
Yes.
However, I would like to say that when we seek help, when people seek help in therapy or support of any kind, they're much more likely to move through that more quickly and not stay in that stuck place for a long, long time. But we need a little help, I think.
We all need help, and it's a combination, isn't it, of support and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Support to help us, like emotionally help us make the transition, but also that little bit of accountability of reminding us why we're doing what we're doing, and kind of like not holding us to task in a you know, authoritative way, but holding us to task and actually just reminding us what it is we're moving towards, what we're moving away from, and kind of keeping us on track. I relate to that on so many levels. I don't think it matters how you know, old or wise or clever or informed or, you know, whatever you want to call it, we all wobble.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to get very clear on that why we're doing something, so that, you know, on those vulnerable days when things seem a bit much, we can come back to that why, and that's what boosts us. And I'm curious about your experience of moving to Spain, because I know that it's been a long journey for you, and I know you've had your ups and downs with bureaucracy and stuff. How was that for you? How did you keep coming back to your why?
Yes, I always came back to my why, and I never wobbled on my why. But it was hard. Like the journey itself was hard. The bureaucracy was hard. But managing the emotions of my children, my friends, my loved ones, was hard, because, you know, even though everybody was supportive, everybody felt abandoned. And my eldest in particular was frightened of the change, because she knew what we were coming to, but it's still scary because it's a whole new life. And so kind of having to hold all of that. And actually I did a post on it the other day, a very, very short post, you know, just saying, like, I went into kind of like robot mode towards the end. I had to kind of like ditch my own emotions and just kind of switch off, because I just couldn't manage the process, like the bureaucracy, the practicalities, the logistics, and hold everybody's emotions and manage my own emotions. And all I had was the goal. All I had was the why. That was the only thing that just kept me going. Like, I trust myself that the why is right. And my husband, I mean, obviously, you know, Dave's completely on board with it as well. So we just trusted that the why was strong enough and right enough to kind of keep us going.
And of course, in order, as I said, in order to have change in our lives, we have to, by its very nature, change means moving from one to another. So we have to leave something behind, whether that is a people or a country, or it's an old lifestyle, whatever it is. In order to move to B, we have to leave A. And I'm wondering how that was for you, that with getting into this lovely new life, moving towards this new life, leaving behind family, friends, house, all of that. But what was that like for you? Were you able to, have you been able to navigate that? I guess it's a process, and it's not something that happens overnight anyway, even though you're physically in a different place. Emotionally, there's things that will take time to process, to leave behind.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, there's so many layers to that, Marlene. I suppose, you know, from a personal point of view at the moment, I'm on holiday, right? I mean, we've been out of the country for 4 days. So
Right.
it hasn't, you know, for all intents and purposes, I could just be in Spain for 2 weeks, and, you know, so that part of it hasn't so much kicked in yet. But there's 2 parts to it. There was lockdown, and lockdown changed everything for all of us. You know, the first part of the pandemic, 2020, March 2020, all the shutters went down, and so we all learned to communicate and validate, I suppose, each other in different ways. So that was the turning point for Dave and I to decide what it was that we wanted to do and how we wanted to make the change. I think the hard part for us was that we blended with our next door neighbours, who were friends of ours from church. Our babies, we were baby bumps together. They moved in just before the pandemic, 6 months before the pandemic, and then we, you know, knocked down the fence, and we lived as a little blended family, two daughters, each of us 2 daughters. And so I think actually in hindsight, breaking that up was the hardest part, because that wasn't just about us moving on as a family. It was also about kind of breaking up. I know it sounds a bit silly, but we really were a combined unit for 3 years. And so breaking up, that felt like a divorce, a very pleasant divorce, but it felt like a divorce. And then thinking of the children who have all grown up together for the past 3 years, and the little 2 went to the same childminder, they were in the same preschool, they went to school together, we did the school runs together, we ate at weekends together. Like, so breaking that up was really hard. But then, you know, I came back to the point of it can't have, it could never have been forever, because my intention would never have been to stay in a 2-bedroom house in South London until both of my girls went to university. Like, they were sharing a bedroom at 7 and 9, and that was already getting stressful. So it was like, well, at what point then does it, you know, it has to break at some point. So at what point is that going to happen? And so sometimes it feels like there's never a right time. It's like when I speak to, you know, women about divorcing, and, you know, what's right for the children and how are we going to do this, and there's never a right time. Like, I've got a friend of mine who's my age. She's I think she is she's either 42 or 44, which is how old I am, and her parents have just divorced, so they're just separated, and she's devastated. You know, she's devastated at 44 that her parents are no longer going to be together, supporting each other, loving each other, together for birthdays, together for Christmas. And, you know, so I was 7 when my parents split up. It was acrimonious, you know, as it usually is. I think if I'd have been a teenager, it would have been just as bad. And I think there's, you know, sometimes when we wait for the right time is the right time is either never or now.
That's a really good way.
Half full or half empty. Like,
Yeah.
it's either never or now. Like, there's no in between.
It's a really interesting way to put it, isn't it? Either you never make the change, or you just do it. Yeah. I was thinking also that, you know, for myself, having moved to 3 different countries, pretty much all my clients are expats, and that's because of my location, because I'm used to working with expats. I work with people in different countries on Zoom now anyway. but also there are specific things experiences that expats have, especially in that first 2-3 years. And I'm so familiar with that myself that I'm able to help them navigate those changes. And in my experience, it isn't just about there's a change, you go through a process and then it smooths out. There's kind of waves. So you'll feel the way you do for the first 6 months when you move, and then things will settle, and then a few months later something else will come up and it'll all feel a bit strange again, or it'll be something you have to work through. And I guess actually, as I say it, isn't that a bit like all change? Isn't all change like that? Or a lot of change, particularly the big things? We don't just go through one process and come out the other side. We go through waves of change over a period of time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and actually, I don't know why my mind has kind of swung in a completely different direction. But I'm also thinking of like the menopause, and actually, you know, our actual body goes through changes, and we have to get used to that. You know, I'm going through that myself now, and so these changes. Like changes are I think you said this at the very beginning, Marléne. Change is a very, very natural part of life. Like we want things to change. We want to grow. We want to develop. We want things to move on. And in exactly the same way that the seasons come and go, without wanting to sound too cheesy, our body changes. You know, we go through different cycles of our life. Our relationships change. And we can either embrace that change or we can resist it, but we can't stop it.
I'm just wondering, as you say that, for anybody who's watching this, who's contemplating some change or is stuck in that sort of in-betweeny place, who wants to make a change, whatever that change is, how can we help them feel more courageous? What can we say to them to give them courage to do that?
Well, you know, there's two things there. But first of all, I've had a lot of messages from people, from women, just saying, you know, how inspired they are, which is a lovely compliment to me, and I really am very humbled by that. So, you know, people are watching, and I think sometimes you just need to I think being clear on the why. I think let's start with the basics. Being really clear on the why. What do you want to change? Why do you want to change it? And what is stopping you from changing it? They're like the basic questions that I would ask in any situation. And then the second part, obviously, Marléne, is reach out to us, direct message either of us. If you want to, like, just have a chat and just like talk that through and find out how we can support you to do that.
Get the support.
That's what we're here for, isn't it, really?
I think a lot of the time women think they have to do everything by themselves.
Yes.
And they don't reach out. And they don't realize that actually it's the most effective, powerful, sensible, you know, positive, courageous, all of that stuff, to actually go to somebody and say, all the things, me and my all the things. To actually go to somebody, a coach, a therapist, or somebody, and say, this is, I'm not happy with this. I want to get to this place. I'm a bit stuck, and I could do with some courage and some guidance, and to look at what's stopping me so that I don't sort of stay stuck or come back round to this problem again. And can you give me the support? Because that's, you know, that's what you do. That's what your role is in life, to do that. So can you help me with whatever my role is in life? And that's how the human race evolves, isn't it? That's how we've got to be where we are today with all our amazing, you know, advances in tech and everything we have, and houses and cars and everything, by working together. And that's all change. Everything is change. And we navigate that and we evolve through that and succeed in that by working together. So yeah, it's the why, and it's the, and now who's going to help me do it?
Yeah, and you know, it comes back to the support and the accountability. And you know, just to finish that, no one, no matter their status, gets to where they want to be without support.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
No one. Not the top sports people, the top politicians, like everybody needs support. Lord knows I need support, you know. We all do. We have supervision for our professional work. We have each other for our peer support. You know, we all, I lean on my best friend for business advice, and friendship, and life. You know, we all need support in whichever way we can get it. And so but I think especially if it comes to doing something big change, then you know, you helped me enormously. You and our lovely friend Kim, who we're going to see shortly, over the last 18 months have been a huge support in keeping me grounded, but also because you've both done it and you are both living as expats. That's, you know, that's been hugely helpful and beneficial. You know, whether it has been intentional or not, it has been. So I'm very grateful.
I actually recall the very first time we met in a business group, and we were chatting online, and you said something like, "Oh, I'm thinking of moving to Spain." And I said, "Jump on a Zoom call with me sometime if you want some information, because I've done it myself." And that's how we connected, wasn't it, originally?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's it, isn't it?
Amazing.
To embrace change. You know, it's about knowing our why, it's about getting support. And I think also I'd like to say to anybody watching is have some trust in yourself. You know, you're doing great. You're just fine. Just take a breath and have some trust in yourself. You can, whatever it is, you can do it. Just get somebody to guide you, give you some guidance, hold your hand a little bit the way.
Excellent. Okay, all right, let's wrap it up there.
Okay.
And yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants any support or guidance, then please do reach out to either myself or Marléne. Links are in the bio, or just send us a DM, whichever works best. All right, Marléne, I'll see you very soon.